Hello guys and gals and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be going over another one of the unique items, the new unique items, called the Entropy Locket. The Entropy Locket does have some interesting rolls on it, so I am going to bring up the roll sheet here. This is actually pretty cool because the new Holy Grail that they have in the game, when you find the item, actually tells you what the rolls are on the item, so you can actually see, like, potentially how crappy your item is or not, or whether you got, like, a perfectly rolled doojank. So the Entropy Locket has a 4% chance to cast level 19 Miasma, and that does not vary, and that is on striking, so it does actually require you to hit the target. It's actually pretty cool, because you could potentially pair that up very easily with the new Authority Rune Word, which is for the Warlock, which has 10% chance to cast level 15 Miasma on striking. Adding those two together could definitely make it so that you have a very interesting, like, rocking effect, and I'll show that off in a little bit. We also have between 5 to 10 faster cast, which is always nice to have on an amulet. We have 5 to 10% magic skill damage, which of course goes along with the whole miasma chain thing, because that is magic damage. In fact, there's a lot of magic damage on the Warlock. There's things like miasma chain, miasma bolt. There's also the abyss skill, and there's hex bane, and there's also hex purge, and so forth and so on. And you could potentially even utilize this on non-Warlock classes as well. Like, for instance, I'm going to throw it on a proc on real quick. And that magic skill damage could definitely come in handy on things like a Bone Spear Necromancer, a Bone Spirit Necromancer, a Hammered In, and so forth and so on. We also have increases maximum mana by 10 to 15%, which is actually really huge. So it just gives you a massive mana bump. Depending on how big your mana pool is, of course, it's going to go up more or less. We also have lightning resistance 25 to 40%, which is a pretty big variance. But it's actually kind of nice to have that lightning res on there, especially if you are, like going up against Uber Mephisto, who generally needs a large amount of lightning resist to counter his negative corruption with the conviction aura. So, like, in that case, at least you'll be covered for the lightning res on him. It also has a massive 8 to 12 magic damage reduced. Now, a lot of people over the years really kind of underestimated MDR and PDR, which are flat damage reductions, but they actually provide massive defensive capability. What it really comes down to is that any monster can hit you and dish out damage. But if you can basically say, and if you can't do at least this much damage to me or greater, then you don't even get to hit me. It's kind of like the whole Bleach episode with freaking Ichigo and Zenpachi, where Zenpachi's like, your aura can't even scratch my skin. Like, if you can't bypass the magic damage reduced and the physical damage reduced that I have, you can't even scratch me. Like, that's basically how MDR and PDR work. Now, the Entropy Locket has a lot of interesting mechanics, but one that I'm interested in the most is the 4% chance to cast level 19 Miasma Chain on striking. Now, I have here my proc Amazon that was literally designed around procking effects. And what we're going to do is we're going to take her out and show off the Miasma Chain procking so you can get an idea of, like, how effective it potentially could be. Let's go to Arcane Sanctuary. Sounds like a fun place for Miasma Chains. As you can see, we've already got 3 miasma chains. And I think we got like 10 or 15 miasma chains right now. Like, holy Jesus. As you can see, the miasma chains come out from you and attach to specific targets. And then anything within the chain range essentially is getting damaged. And so it allows you to essentially have, like, these crazy miasma chains all over the place. It's a very interesting and a very good addition to the overall, like, Procazon kind of feeling. I actually think these ghosts are an interesting option as well, because the ghosts, you can, like, hit so many of them at one time with the procking effect. Of course, I'm trying to stay alive here while I also proc hundreds of miasma chains in all directions. Now, another interesting thing about the procs is that procs can actually be synergized. So to go through the process of explaining how procs can be synergized, we're going to talk very quickly about, like, how synergies work. So let's go over to the Warlock real quick, and I'm going to explain some things. All right. So if you're on a actual warlock, and you want to synergize a proc, there are two things that you need to know. The first thing is that the proc on the item is always stuck at whatever level it is at. So you cannot increase or decrease the procking effect, because that is essentially how it works, right? So in the case of Authority, Authority has a level 15 miasma chain, which means that it will always be cast at level 15, and basically makes it so that you can have a like castable level 15 miasma chain. Now, what you can do, if even though you can't upgrade or downgrade the miasma chain, you can, however, take it so that the miasma chain is synergized. So you can beef up things like miasma bolt, you can beef up things like abyss, and you can also beef up things like enhanced entropy, which will increase the miasma radius and the miasma duration. And so basically you have as access to synergize the level 15 bonus. Now this means that the damage on the ability won't ever be the maximum, because you can't get like level 36 or 37 or 38, or like level 50 miasma chain, but you can take that level 15 miasma chain and synergize it to its utmost by using all of the synergy bonuses. And with the new amulet, you can also potentially do that with the level 19 miasma chain that you can get. So you could have level 19 and level 15 miasma chain with those two items procking. Now, how would you set up a procking build with a warlock to take advantage of the procking miasma chains? Well, you would probably end up using either mirrored blades with a bow, or you utilize cleave with a melee setup, or you could potentially do both of them together. And this is going to allow you to proc the effects as you're running along. In fact, let's go ahead and grab them real quick, and I'll put them back on this character, and we'll show how you could potentially proc them with an actual warlock. Boop. Boop. All right, so we're going to take both of these items. We're going to put these on the warlock. And we're just going to go out and we're going to fire the bow. We now have two different procs. We have the proc for the Authority Armor, which is 10% chance to cast level 15 miasma. We also have the proc for the Amulet, which is the 4% chance to cast level 19 miasma on striking. I'm using a bow, Buriza do Canyon, and the reason why I'm using Buriza do Canyon is because it pierces. It's a 100% pierce chance. And of course, we have 5 shots, so we're able to hit 5 times, pierce with 100%, which means we can get a total of 5 pierces, with an additional 6th hit at the end, which is a total of 30 hits per shot, and we can attack at about 2.77 times per second. So we're basically getting a massive number of proc attempts, essentially, which is causing the miasma chains to have the ability to proc onto the targets. And with this particular build, you would definitely want to use both items, not just one or the other, because that way you would get access to the level 15 at 10% and the level 19 at 4%, which is going to be a little bit higher damage. Also, using the synergy for the enhanced entropy means that we get to keep them for longer. So they're going to do more damage for a longer period of time. So instead of only lasting for like 2 seconds, they're going to last for 6, which is going to be very helpful in terms of like getting that proccing damage off. And as you can see, it doesn't take very long before I have quite a few miasma chains active at any given time, and the monsters are taking a pretty good amount of damage from it. Now, if you'd like to know exactly how much damage is being done, I can show you that as well. So let's go take a look at an offline character, and I'm going to show you the level of the ability fully synergized, how much it does unsynergized, and we'll talk about that as well. So let's go ahead and pull up just a random little do-jank here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and strip him naked for the time being, because we don't want a bunch of plus to skills messing around with what we're trying to show off here. All right, so what we can do is we can max out Miasma Bolt. We can max out enhanced entropy, and we can max out abyss. And we can level up miasma chain independently. So fully synergized at level 15, you're looking at 205 to 220 direct damage, 801 to 846 damage per second per chain. So essentially, if you have multiple chains running, like for instance 5 or 6 chains, multiply that by 5 or 6. At level 19, fully synergized, you're looking at 1,170 to 1,215 per second magic damage, and 265 to 280 magic damage direct. And that's, of course, with the synergy bonuses. Now, if we take the synergy bonuses away, which is a little bit difficult to do because I do have to actually put 1 point in Miasma Bolt, we can take a look at what unsynergized Miasma Chain looks like, which is 45 to 48 magic damage direct, 106 to 112 per second. And level 19 is 58 to 61 magic damage and 156 to 162 damage per second. So as you can see, the unsynergized version doesn't really have quite the same oomph as the regular. However, using it as a proc is really quite interesting because you get access to both the procced miasma chains and also whatever other ability you're using. So like for instance, when I'm firing my bow, I'm not just getting miasma chain damage, I'm also getting the bow damage. I'm also getting the physical damage of the actual shots, which is pretty powerful. So you're adding everything together to get the sum of the parts. As you can also see, with no synergies, it only has a duration of 2 seconds, which is not very good, and the miasma radius is only 2 yards. Whereas if you beef up enhanced entropy will increase the miasma radius to 4 yards and the duration to 6 seconds, which makes the miasma chains last much longer and dish out much more damage over a specific time period. In fact, in general, you can have a huge number of miasma chains running at the same time, which means that if you were running a fully synergized level 19 miasma chain at 1,215 damage per second, you could very easily have, like, say, 10 of those chains running at the same time times 1,215, which is about 12k damage per second in that particular radius. All in all, the Amulet is definitely a very interesting addition to the game. I think that the Entropy Locket is definitely going to make a good addition. It has some interesting modifiers like magic seal damage, which is going to be useful to specific magic damage characters. It's going to have some very interesting connotations for proccing builds, like a Procazon. You can totally make a new, like, proccing character on the warlock where you get all that bonus. And in general, like, you have a lot of potential options here. It's not the best amulet in the world, though. It doesn't have plus to skills. It doesn't have Deadly Strike. It doesn't have increased attack speed. There are definitely things that are missing, and it's not going to work for every single build. As always, though, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe button if you are enjoying the content. And as always, keep watching.